Hi everybody, this is Boogass Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the Marvel Legends Vintage Wave Black Widow figure. So before we take a look at Black Widow, let's take a look at the accessories that she comes with. So first up, she just comes with these pistols that we've seen used before. These were used for Paladin, Taskmaster. We've seen them used numerous times before in the past. And they're all just cast in a black color, which doesn't really bother me, but she has no storage, like she doesn't have any holsters on her hips or anything. But she can hold these pretty nicely in her hands. Just got to wedge them in like that. There. So there's Black Widow holding her pistols. So now let's take a look at the head sculpt for this figure. So, for the head sculpt for this figure, I am not a fan of it at all. And it's just because Hasbro reused the Mary Jane head sculpt. I'll show that side by side. And I feel like this was kind of just a one-off head sculpt that they shouldn't have reused. Because when I look at this, all I can see is Mary Jane. So looking at them side by side, there is some paint differences, like the lipstick. She doesn't have freckles, of course. And the hair is differently colored. On the Mary Jane figure, it's this very dark red that fades into maroon. And the Vintage Wave Widow is a very bright red that kind of fades into maroon. Maroon-ish. Actually, I think it just fades into a dark red color because that's a very bright red. But Hasbro should not have reused this head sculpt for this body. Maybe the hair would have been fine. Hair on a new head, or this head with new hair. I think that may have been different if they would have done that, but yeah, that's why I'm not a fan of this head sculpt, because when I look at it, all I can see is Mary Jane. And she is just cast in this all black color, and there's really no detail to her at all. I thought it would have been nice if Hasbro would have mixed in some blue to give it like a bluish hue when you'd hold it up to the light, but they didn't. Nothing is new on this figure because the belt and her stingers are reused from the previous Black Widow figure that Hasbro made from the Winter Soldier and Black Widow 2-pack. And I like that one a lot more than this one. I don't actually have it, I've just seen pictures of it, but from what I've seen, it looks a lot better. Like, she doesn't even have a zipper sculpted on her costume like she's usually seen with. She doesn't have a collar, she should have a collar. There's just not a lot of detail. And I think that her belt here and her stingers should have been gold instead of just yellow. It's yellowish gold, but I think it just should have been gold. Like maybe cast in this color right here that they casted Phoenix in. So yeah, that's about all for this figure. There's no detail to it at all. I think there should have been some more sculpting detail. Like she should have had a zipper sculpted on her costume, and she should have a collar. So, yeah, that's about it. But I did find a pretty useful hack here. Is take this head sculpt, the Jean Grey head sculpt from the Dark Phoenix 2-pack. Just pop that off. Pop that off. And put that head on. And it has the same articulation as this head. Actually, before I show the articulation here, I'll go ahead and go over her head articulation. So she can look down all the way, and she can look back just a little bit, and move her head side to side. So now let's go ahead and pop that off there. So, once I replace it with this, I think it looks a lot better. I think this does look like Black Widow. Like, this head sculpt too, I think looks way too young to be Black Widow. I think this looks like a teenager, and this head looks older. So that's another reason why I think that this head sculpt works. And if you put this Black Widow head sculpt on this Jean Grey body, it looks like the all-new X-Men Jean Grey, the original 5. So that's a pretty useful thing that I've done with this figure. I actually think this looks pretty good. I think that looks accurate to the comics. But I shouldn't have had to do that. I think the head sculpt should have been good enough that I should have been able to leave it on in the first place, you know. So now we'll go over the rest of the articulation. So with this head on, she can look down all the way, and she can look up just a little bit, and she can move her head side to side all the way. She's got ball jointed shoulders that can move out that far. She's got swivel elbows, or single jointed elbows that are on swivels. She has swivel wrists that can move up and down that way and side to side. This one moves back and forth and side to side. She's got ball jointed diaphragm that can move back all the way and forward just a little bit, not much at all. Can swivel side to side. She's got ball jointed hips that can't really move out that far. She can kick forward very far though, and back just a little bit. She's got swivel at the thigh, double jointed knee, swivel at the ankle, and an ankle rocker. So now let's do some size comparisons once I get her back into a normal pose here. There. So now let's do some size comparisons. I don't know if she's wanting to stay up because her one leg is bowed here. So here she is next to the original Black Widow, and this original Black Widow is kind of terrible. I mean, it was good for its time, but now it doesn't hold up. And she's a lot taller too, so there's that. And here she is next to Mary Jane, since that was the original head sculpt that was on her. As you can see, they used the upper torso right here, her chest, and her arms and everything, except the hands are the same, because that's the standard female body mold being used right here. And then here she is next to the Vintage Wave Punisher. Again, he's not wanting to stand up. And then here she is next to the Vintage Wave Captain America. Next to the Vintage Wave Captain America. So overall, I'm still really not a fan of this figure. I mean, the other head on it does look really good. But, you know, I'd only get it if it was like on sale or like I did through a trade. So that's my review. And if you like this review, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.